Welcome back. Here's Lucifer. I don't get to park the two next to each other very often, but I'm going to have a go at. It's windy as usual, but I've bought this. It's a MIG welder with flux core wire. You don't need the shield gas. It's meant for outdoor use, but I'll be honest with you, it's a devil to use on really thin material like this. Let's just turn the LED on. So here's the sill that's been cut. Now, let's see if we can get the camera to focus inside. Oh, it's a spider. Let's get rid of that. Go on, off you go. I don't particularly think forget it. It's trying to crawl on me. No, I'll ignore it. Not particularly keen, but hey. You can just see my patch here on the inner sill because there we go. There's a hole going along here. So I can just trying to get the light. Let's have a look. Yeah, so this is the sill flange. These are little Jubilee clamps or U clamps I made myself, and they're skin pegs I made. So you can just see the patch, and it's got a skin peg there, and there's a hole for another skin peg. These are wonderful little things. I made these myself. I showed them in a previous video last week. Let me just see if I can do this one-handed. Just put the peg in and it squeezes the two panels together. It's ideally you do it with two hands. I'm struggling, but you get the idea. But it's not quite tight enough here. I need to take it out, drill another hole because there's about 2 or 3 millimeters gap there, and that will 100% blow through. It will just with this with the welder I've been using, it's very, very difficult to do butt welds. You can do lap welds, so there's a lap there. I'll be able to weld that corner no problem, and this patch overlaps the hole. But if you're trying to sort of do a butt joint, perfect flange upon flange, it just blows holes. It's almost impossible to use flux core wire on sort of 0.8 millimeter body panel like this. It just blows through. You'd be there forever. So I'm not going to even waste my time trying to weld this with the flux core wire. I'm going to do it with oxyacetylene. Where's my patch? There it is. Actually, we won't be able to put the patch in because the little clamps are there. But so I've fashioned a new drain hole. Here's one of the original drain holes. So I'll be cutting this out later. You know, it'll be a totally separate section, but it'll be very, very similar. I've still got to get a bit more of a radius. This bit here needs to be totally flat, and that bit there behind this little fold needs just a bit more of a radius. There's just a tiny bit more radius there, so that's supposed to be completely flat, and that's got quite a radius. So I was doing it last week, and I did it with a hammer, and put the just there we go. We can see the shape. Oh, I'm lying on my back. Yeah, so we need more radius here. So I'll be hitting it and stretching it here. By stretching it along here, it will cause that sort of curve up, and I'll be able to keep this bit flat. But I really do want to try and get this patch welded in. In fact, it's a mess. Let's undo little clamps, and we'll take this out. And I need to do another hole. It's just not tight enough. Just undo the. There we go. I made these myself years ago. Skin pegs. But if it's really, really tightly clamped, I'll be able to weld it beautifully. You can see the hole inside. It looks a bit of a mess. There's no. It's all good metal, and I've treated both sides of the steel. It's not a very clean cut. I just can't get, because the sill's in the way, look, I can't get the cutters in. So I've been sort of trying to shove the cutters in and sort of, they want to sit flat, and of course they can't. I can't get the grinder in, but at the end of the day, it's inside. The metal's been, it's been treated both sides. You can see there's a scribe line. What I'm going to do is mask. No, which way am I going to do it? This way. Yeah, I'm going to mask off above, and I'm going to spray zinc primer inside here. Plenty of zinc primer, and zinc primer to the back of the patch. and then I'll weld around, and then I'll spray more primer over before, you know, I'm going to make sure it's got plenty of zinc based primer. But anyway, that's the patch I'm going to use. Now I've got that off, I'm going to drill another hole here, so we'll have the sill slightly bent. I think I've probably bent the damn thing, trying to shove the snips in, you know, it's just bent slightly there, so a skin peg will pull the two together. You really do need them extremely sort of tightly sandwiched if you're going to use this flux cord MIG wire. I wouldn't be so fussy if I was using argon shield. I'd definitely get away with that, but on material this thin I will not get away with it with flux core. But in the wind, you know, you can't weld in the wind, it just blows the shield gas away, so I'm having to use gasless wire, which is intended for outdoor use. But to be honest with you, it's for much heavier, yeah, for welding heavy stuff like this, really thick heavy gauge, you know, you could weld that no problem, but welding this thin stuff, it seems to be slightly slower as you're pulling the trigger and feeding the wire in. It seems to be slightly slower, and the flux melts, and you get like this gold sloppy treacly kind of, and it seems to slow it down, so there's more heat goes into it's only a fraction of a second, but you definitely get more heat, and because of more heat it quickly blows into a hole, whereas on it's just a fraction slower on regular MIG with an argon shield. It's just faster, and you can tell, because when you've welded, you let it cool, and you get like purple and bronze sort of tarnishing around the weld, which is the heat. And with flux core, yeah, the heat is a good inch around the small weld, whereas on an argon shield gas, it's only about 4 or 5 millimeters sort of purple around the weld, so there's much less heat sink, massively more heat on flux core wire. So don't be tempted to try and do butt welds. You'll make a real mess. If you're trying to do body work as a butt weld, honestly forget it. You can do laps, but I do not want any overlaps in this car. Laps just catch moisture, so that'll be about the only lap that will be in here, but I'm going to seal it up. And but as regards doing it on the outer panels, I do have a joggler in here. It would easily put a step, you know, I could run along this sill edge and put a joggled step and do a lap weld. That would be easy enough, but I don't want the lap for any potential moisture trap, so I'm just going to do it the hard way with oxyacetylene and do a complete sort of seam weld that will be filed away.